What up, YouTube? It's not just self-determination. So, yeah, still going in on, this whole situation with Trump and some of the things he's doing. He has, well, I'm gonna just read the headline. Trump signs order suspending admission of Syrian refugees. Um, let's see. President Donald Trump on Friday signed an executive order temporarily halting a U.S. refugee program and indefinitely suspending admission of Syrian refugees and issuing 90-day restrictions that could affect people from 7 other predominantly Muslim nations. Okay, and let's see. I thought I just saw something else, but sorry about that. The order, the order suspends the admittance of Syrian refugees indefinitely changes until changes are made to U.S. policies, and a move following campaign pledges to institute "quote-unquote" extreme vetting for some seeking to enter the country. In signing the order, Trump pledged to quote keep radical Islamic terrorists out of the United States of America, end quote. And let's see, quote, we are not admitting into the country the very threats our soldiers are fighting overseas, end quote, Trump said during the swearing-in ceremony for Defense Secretary James Mattis at the Pentagon. So, even though Islam is not mentioned in the order, critics condemned it as a quote-unquote Muslim ban. What do you guys think about that? About Trump, banning people from quote-unquote and or possibly Muslim countries. Let's see. The most recent version of that visa waiver program put restrictions on those who had traveled to 7 countries since March of 2011: Iraq, Syria, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, or Yemen. Some visa exemptions are included in Trump's order. Now, this is not in defense of Donald Trump at all, but there are quite a few countries that Americans will have an extremely, extremely difficult time visiting, or probably just can't visit altogether. Now, on the list of countries that the restrictions are put on, Iran. Iran is one of the countries that is very strict about Americans visiting, if you could probably actually visit. Saudi Arabia is another one that is very difficult for Americans to be able to visit. And especially if you're a woman, you probably won't get to go, especially if you don't have, your husband's, permission to go. North Korea is one of those countries. And given my last couple of videos, you probably wouldn't want to go to North Korea anyway because there's no U.S. embassy there. So good luck. Let's see. Angola is another country that is very difficult for Americans to get green cards to visit. Algeria. Let's see. Cuba. Well, we all are pretty much aware of the whole Cuban thing. My videos on the history of the police kind of get into Cuba a little bit. Syria. Syria is, let's see, one of the countries that Trump is trying to post restrictions on. Somalia, another one of those countries that Trump is trying to puts restrictions on. Afghanistan and Iraq. Iraq is one of those countries on Trump's list also. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, there are plenty, like I just read, there are plenty of countries that don't allow Americans to come to the country or make it very exceedingly difficult, right? And some of those countries are countries that, Trump are putting restrictions on. I mean, in the whole, eye for an eye thing, fair, all things being fair, if we can't go there, why can't they come here? Again, this is not me taking up for Trump. This is me putting it into a different perspective. Some of these same countries that Trump is putting restrictions on are some of the same countries that don't want Americans there. That's why they make it so difficult and complicated for you to actually come. And if they even allow you to come, you could probably still end up getting kidnapped, tortured, ransomed, or murdered, you know? So, I mean, the reasons for Trump putting these restrictions on these countries is because he wants to, quote unquote, keep terrorists out of the country. I couldn't give you the reason why some of these countries don't want us to visit, other than the fact that we're Americans and they probably just simply just hate us, hate America, period. But you let me know what you guys think. Is it fair for Trump to restrict travel to our country from countries that have restricted travel for Americans? Do you think he's being paranoid? Do you think he's being xenophobic, racist? What do you guys think about this? I mean, would you let someone in your house who completely restricted and banned you from ever entering theirs? Would you give somebody a sandwich who, you know, wouldn't give you a grape if you were starving to death? I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Again, this is not me taking up or defending Trump. However, I mean, let's look at these things open mindedly when it comes to some of these countries. Again, these are countries where if they come here, there could be some harassment, possibly from people, but more than likely they'll be more accepted in our country than we would in theirs. I mean, that's just a different perspective on it. Again, I'm not choosing sides either way. I'm just presenting you guys with the information. You let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, learn, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.